So Elon Musk has recently just joined us in the fight against the mainstream media. And he just made these posts. So let's take a look at them, see what they are. This post was posted about 3 hours ago from the time I'm making this video. Probably be a little bit later by the time I upload this video. But let's see. He says, the holier than thou hypocrisy of big media companies who lay claim to the truth but publish only enough to sugarcoat the lie is why the public no longer respects them. And that's true. That's 100% true. And he said that in reply to this article, which was posted on behalf of, Elon Musk. See this website called Electric, posted by Fred Lambert, and comes down here and says, I have to agree with Baird here. I have been increasingly bummed out by the media's coverage of Tesla, not only with the obsessive coverage of crashes trying to link what are mostly driver mistakes to Tesla autopilot or risk of battery fires, but also a general increase of misleading clickbait. And the clickbait he's referring to is where Bloomberg had actually um, they posted pictures that had nothing to do with the actual story that they posted or were talking about. So, and yeah, they basically, I guess they sidelined their news article or news articles, but they're supposed to talk about one thing and talk about something else, and they posted pictures of something else and said that they were talking about what they're, whatever. But anyways, um, that's common with mainstream media. They can't get anything right, and they're constantly twisting information. And with mainstream media, they always have some personal grudge that they want to just completely vent out. So if, or half the time, their bosses tell them to, or to hit the street, So, if the people in media aren't crooked, then their bosses are. And you have to be crooked to work in media. That's all there is to it. I mean, all the media companies are pretty much owned and controlled by the big bankers like Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Morgans. So they're on a payroll, pretty much, whether they know it or not. So let's go back to the other posts. Um, Somebody had posted a reply here. Let's take a look at it. Someone named Andrew J. Hawkins uh, posted, Musk continues his slow transformation into a media-baiting Trump figure screaming irrationally about fake news. Hope it works out for you, dude. now that must be some old-time loser, because he obviously isn't with the program. Like, because Elon is right, and a lot of people are going to side with Elon just because everyone's waking up. And I'm pretty sure this is all pretty much related to. Well, let me just. I guess I'll read what Elon wrote real quick. Thought you would say that anytime anyone criticizes the media shrieks. You're just like Trump. Why do you think he got elected in the first place? Because no one believes you anymore. You lost your credibility a long time ago. And what he's referring to right here with you lost your credibility a long time ago. Well, actually, recently, something really big recently, when everybody took a clip of what Trump said about their animals, and then every single news agency said the same thing at the same time. They took that little tiny clip and all screamed he was saying that about immigrants or illegal immigrants. And it turned out that it wasn't exactly immigrants or illegal immigrants. It was criminal gang MS-13 illegal immigrants. So that's an example of the news being completely useless and worthless. Can't trust them. They don't even know what half the shit they're doing. They basically walk around like little zombies, and somebody hands them a paper and say, "Read this to it," or read the teleprompter. So media is just complete joke. It's bullshit. Now, because of the whole chaos with the whole fake news thing, though, where the media tried to shut down social media and they tried to control what anybody could say on social media. It's a very sensitive subject, and everyone's going to be flipping out and going crazy, like who's on whose side. And Elon Musk is a very powerful person, and even though he might be on our side to put a stop to the mainstream bullshit, I think a lot of people might be afraid that what could happen is somebody could take his little project and twist it. So you got to be very careful about that. So let's continue on here. Problem is journos are under constant pressure to get max clicks and to earn advertising dollars or get fired. Tricky situation, as Tesla doesn't advertise, but fossil fuel companies and gas diesel car companies are among the world's biggest advertisers. Now, the first part here, where he mentions pressure to get max clicks and earn advertising dollars or get fired, what he is talking about here is what PewDiePie has brought a large amount of attention to over the last 2 years, or especially over the last year. PewDiePie pointed out that the media loves to take stuff that PewDiePie says or does out of context. They'll take a little something that he says or does, purposely lie about it, and they'll lie about it in such a way that people just read the headline, which is clickbait, and they'll just jump all over it like, oh, well, I know everything because I just read the headline. People don't even read the article, but if they read the article, it's still misleading and it's still bullshit because it's the media.
It's a bunch of different news outlets. We got The Sun, we got The Guardian, we got BBC, we got Wired, we got Forbes. They're all essentially competing with each other. But basically, oh shit, okay, well this is a good title. I guess I'll click on that one. Oh, how about that? There's an ad there. Okay, great. So essentially, as soon as I click, they get paid. It doesn't really matter what the content is. As long as they have a good enough, strong enough title, that beats all its competitors, then they get paid. So really, the content is pretty much irrelevant. They just need a strong title no matter what. But also, a very important distinction is that YouTube, it's entertainment, media, it's the fucking news. It's supposed to give you an objective standpoint on and tell people what is going on out there. What is the truth, I think this is a bigger problem than a lot of people realize. Remember when the news was sent to your home? That was basically subscription based. So the media would get paid regardless. So basically they didn't have to clickbait to get paid. And that way you get a more unbiased, objective news. You could say, hey, maybe you actually get the truth. Instead of all this where whoever yells the loudest gets paid. That's all that matters, because that's how they get paid. My goal is not to keep pushing these controversial topics. What I just think, and I believe strongly in, is that context fucking matters. Titles will never explain context.
So, this isn't really, this doesn't really have to do with politics. I mean, I guess if you want to get into politics, it gets even worse, but you don't have to be into politics to see the bullshit. And you don't have to be into politics to know that the media needs to be taken down, and it should not be in the hands of the bankers like Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and Morgans, which own and control them and pay their paychecks. And it shouldn't be in the control of the CIA and NSA that pretty much have people posted in every single media organization to fix fake stories in order to appeal to their secret hidden agendas to fuck worlds over and completely try to manipulate governments, manipulate businesses. It's all pretty crooked. So it seems like, um, yeah. So moving along here. Um, so he recently posted this, going to create a site where the public can rate the core truth of any article and track the credibility score over time of each journalist, editor, and publication. Thinking of calling it Pravda. Now, and yeah, he did follow up. Even if some of the public doesn't care about the credibility score, the journalists, editors, and publications will. Uh, it is how they define themselves. Now, personally, just a rating score isn't going to work. I'll tell you that right now. Elon, if you're listening to me and watching this, a rating score by itself is not going to work because they'll hide it and they'll lie about it. Now, if there was a law that forced them to have it, like a watermark, 24/7 over their videos, on all videos, and also forced them to have it on the top of every website that they have. And, basically, like in the old days when somebody would commit a crime, they would do something to them and then parade them around the streets in humiliation. So if you're going to have a rating score on media, it needs to be like that, where they can be paraded around in humiliation and be forced to wear that rating system 24/7, where nobody can hear, read, or listen to anything from them without seeing that rating score smack in their face 24/7. So that would have to, that might work a little bit. But overall, rating score is just a score. It doesn't say anything. What you need is to expose the media. Whenever they tell a lie, that lie needs to be exposed. So let me just get to the next post here. It not only needs to be bot proof, but seek and unmask anyone operating a disinformation bot army. Yeah, but let's go back to. Oh yeah, that was a reply, and then this. Yeah, it looks like we've got a lot of good votes here. You can see it's yeah. Well, the 13% is probably the media, the people in media. But let's see. Okay, so yeah, the problem with Twitter is if you have too many people replying to a comment that you make, then you get this. Um, so say you go in the help section here, my replies aren't appearing in the conversation. So what's happening? Are you looking for your replies? If you're not seeing your reply below a tweet, it may be because of an outstanding technical capacity limitation. When there are an overwhelming volume of replies to a tweet, our platform is unable to show all of these replies. However, if your reply is showing up in your timeline, the tweet author can, in most cases, view your reply in their notification. So that means if too many people are replying to a comment, not only can you and other people not see them, but the person that they're going to does not get them. So Twitter is a fail. So Elon, I suggest you try something called Gab. and maybe some other social media services that are better than Twitter, because Twitter's bullshit when it comes to trying to connect with people and communicate. Um, Twitter is just sort of a childish fantasy that never became a reality. The whole Twitter thing is just bullshit. Um, you know, it just does not work. And also, for the last year, I've been using Twitter. The whole thing is constipated. I would quote the way I would describe Twitter is that it is constipated. Every time I try to load Twitter, it acts like it's trying to take a shit and it just can't take a shit. You know, it's like trying to squeeze one out and it just can't do it. And it's like I don't know what the fuck's going on with Twitter, but it's like that for everything. Like things just do not load or take forever to load, or if I click a link, it won't even go to another page. It just gets froze, and then it's not my computer. It only does it with Twitter. Twitter's the only thing it does it with. And so in these comments right here, these were my reply, which obviously, Twitter's all fucked up, so they're not going to show up. But this one, the bottom, media credibility can only exist without the human error, as no two views are the same and people have weaknesses and personal self-interests. Just make it impossible for any one person, group, business, or government to ever have control over it where they can fix it or dictate the outcome. However, majority can be just as bad if ignorance rules. A rating would be nice, but people must also be allowed to place comments and to rate each other's comments. Perhaps allow debates where evidence can be included by anyone. Now, if anyone's familiar with Yahoo News used to have where you could place a comment under the news article and you could rate each other's comments. I think you can still do that now, but time, there was sort of a while that Yahoo got pissed off at all the comments exposing all the bullshit news stories. So they had actually disabled comments completely where nobody could place a comment. And then they returned comments for a while, but they tried to fix the comments so that people still had no opinion or couldn't be heard. And it might have came back. They might have put the comments back. But it's just, that's what people need, is to be able to make comments and rate each other's comments. And people need to be able to do more, like evidence. Need to be able to have actual debates where something can be exposed. Um, Now, how that's going to be done, be a little tricky. You would have to incorporate it with something where profiles already exist, or you'd have to give everybody in the world a chance to make a profile. If it's on a server, it's going to cost a fortune to actually maintain and to run, operate. It costs a fortune. There's got to be a quick and easy way to do it. You're smart and intelligent. I'm sure you can figure it out. I'm thinking, um, if it's just some type of system that rates and exposes and verifies or something. But you see, there's already a lot of shady agencies that are paid for by political parties and other under the table money in order to force the media view. So if you're going to counter the media's view, you have to do it better than they are. Well, I mean, you have to do the verification and all that stuff better than their little goons that are trying to force their narrative. You have to do more than that. Almost you'd have to expose them. Like you'd have to have an entire network for exposing them. But you could do all that, or you could just, instead of putting band-aids over stuff, you could deal with the direct problem. The direct problem is they're paid for by the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and the Morgans, and the others. And they all have one shared agenda: to be puppets and do what they're told to do. They never ask questions, or if they do, they get fired. um, and yeah, that's pretty, pretty much, pretty much it. But there's got to be a way to get around all that. There's got to be a way to completely get rid of the whole CIA connection, the NSA connection. There's got to be a way to completely stomp out the dictator point of view, because that's what the media is. The media is dictators. They try to tell people what to think and feel and how to act, and they pretty much try to use the television set as a brainwashing mechanism. They want people to have their view, and their view is not exactly their view. Their view is paid for by big companies or someone that controls the governments. And it's always for some agenda. Um, like, for example, um, there have been companies forced by the banks to do what the banks want them to do. And of course, the banks, all they have to do is threaten to cut off their money supply, and they do. They cut off every bank and every money transaction company that they work with, and the banks will force them. And when I say banks, I mean the top banks, like the banks' banks. Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and the Morgans. As long as anybody has to have money, they're going to use that money as a leverage. So how do we deal with the larger picture? That's the question.